This fanfiction is only for entertainment purposes, so please don't take it seriously and don't be offended. It's just a story made out of imagination, so it doesn't define any character in real life. I hope you'll enjoy the story and leave positive comments without hating the author and character. I don't own any pictures, but the storylines are completely mine. I will do voiceovers so you can mute it if you want. Hope you will like the video. Your mother wouldn't stop crying. Not tears of sadness, but the loud, dramatic kind that you knew meant she'd done something terrible. YM. It's for the family, YN. You will live like a queen. He is a very powerful, rich man. A bit dangerous, but what great man isn't? She wailed, clutching a silk handkerchief. Dangerous. She had no idea. All she saw was the money he promised her. Enough to clear all her debts. She sold you, her only daughter, to settle a gambling score. You stood stiffly in the simple black dress she forced you into. What's his name? This powerful rich man. YM. Kim Taehyung, she whispered, as if saying a prayer. The name hit you like a physical blow. Taehyung. You're Taehyung. The man whose laughter used to fill your small apartment. The man who held you like you were the most precious thing in the world. The man who also happened to be a ruthless mafia boss, a fact you discovered just before you ran away from him 2 years ago. You said nothing. What could you say? That the man she was selling you to was the same man whose heart you broke when you disappeared without a trace? A black car, sleek and silent like a panther, came to collect you. The driver was a large, grim-faced man who didn't speak. The drive was long, taking you far from the city into secluded, wooded hills. Finally, a massive, modern mansion came into view, all sharp angles and dark glass. It looked less like a home and more like a fortress. You were led inside by a stern-looking housekeeper. The interior was cold, all marble and steel. It was beautiful, but it had no soul. Just like you remembered him becoming in his work. Wait here. The master will see you shortly. The housekeeper said, gesturing to a vast living room. You stood in the center of the room, your heart hammering against your ribs. The silence was heavy, broken only by the ticking of a large clock. You felt like a mouse trapped in a cage with a sleeping lion. Then you felt it. A shift in the air. A presence you knew too well. You turned slowly. He stood in the doorway, leaning against the frame. Kim Taehyung. He was more beautiful than you remembered, time having sharpened his features into something even more devastating. He wore a simple black shirt and trousers, but they screamed of money and power. His eyes, once warm and sparkling, were now dark, unreadable pools. A slow, dangerous smile played on his lips. Taehyung, well, look what the cat dragged in. His voice was a low, familiar rumble that went straight to your bones. You forced yourself to stand tall. Taehyung. Taehyung, so you remember my name. He pushed himself off the door frame and walked towards you, his steps slow and deliberate. Each click of his shoes on the marble echoed in the silent room. He circled you, a predator inspecting his prey. Taehyung, you look good, YN. A little thin, perhaps. Has life been hard without me? You remained silent, staring straight ahead. He stopped in front of you, so close you could smell his cologne, the same one he always wore. It made your head spin. Taehyung, your mother, sold you to me for 5 billion won. She was very eager. Didn't even ask many questions. He said, his voice dropping to a whisper. He reached out and tucked a strand of hair behind your ear. His fingers were cold. Taehyung, she has no idea who I am, does she? That I'm the boy you used to sneak out to see. The man you ran away from. You finally met his gaze. What do you want, Taehyung? His smile vanished. The warmth drained from his face, leaving something cold and terrifying. Taehyung, what do I want? He grabbed your chin, his grip firm but not painful. Taehyung, you disappeared. You vanished from my life without a word. You were the one person I trusted, the one person I let see the man behind the monster. And you left me. I was scared. You whispered. Taehyung, scared of me? He leaned in, his lips almost brushing your ear. Taehyung, you should be. Because now you're not my girlfriend. You're my property. Bought and paid for. He released your chin and trailed his fingers down your neck over your collarbone. A shiver racked your body. It was fear, yes, but also a traitorous, familiar heat. Taehyung, I own you now, Wyan. Every single part of you. And we are going to have a very long, very intense conversation about what happens to people who break my heart. He murmured, his dark eyes burning into yours. He cupped the back of your neck, his thumbs stroking the sensitive skin there. It was an intimate, possessive gesture that made your knees weak. Taehyung, welcome home, darling. He didn't move away. His hand stayed on your neck, a warm, heavy weight. You could feel the beat of your own pulse under his thumb. Wyan, you think this is a game? You asked, your voice trembling despite your best effort. His other hand came up to cradle your face. The touch was deceptively gentle. Taehyung, no. This is not a game. This is payback. And it is also a second chance. You left a hole in me, Wyan. A dark one. I didn't like it. His eyes searched yours. You whispered. Wyan, I had my reasons. Taehyung, and I will hear every single one of them, but not tonight. He said, his voice soft but firm. He finally stepped back, and the loss of his warmth made you feel strangely cold. He walked over to a cabinet and poured a glass of amber liquid. He didn't offer you one. Taehyung, your mother. She thinks you are here as my companion. My kept woman. She is happy with the story. It lets her sleep at night. He said, taking a slow sip. The casual way he spoke about it made your stomach turn. Wyan, you manipulated her. Taehyung, I gave her exactly what she wanted. Money. And I got exactly what I wanted. He looked at you over the rim of his glass. Taehyung, you. He put the glass down and walked back to you. This time, his expression was different. Softer, but in a way that was more dangerous than his anger. Taehyung, come. He said, holding out his hand. You hesitated. Taehyung, Wyan. I said, come. He said, his voice a low warning. Slowly, you placed your hand in his. His fingers closed around yours, warm and strong. He led you out of the living room and up a wide, curved staircase. The house was a maze of shadows and silence. He took you to a bedroom. It wasn't a cold guest room. It was his room. You could smell him in the air, that same cologne, mixed with the scent of clean linen. It was a large room, dominated by a huge bed. The walls were a dark gray, and the windows looked out over the dark forest. He closed the door behind you. The click of the lock was loud in the quiet room. Taehyung, you will sleep here. With me. Wyan, Taehyung. Taehyung, stop, the talking is done for tonight. He cut you off. He came to stand before you again. He reached for the zipper at the back of your dress. You flinched. He paused, his eyes meeting yours. They were unreadable. Taehyung, I'm not going to hurt you. Not like that. Never like that. He said, his voice quiet. He slowly pulled the zipper down. The dress fell to the floor in a pool of black fabric. You stood before him in just your underwear, shivering. He didn't say anything for a long moment, just looked at you. His gaze was intense, taking in every detail. Then he picked you up. It was effortless. He carried you to the bed and laid you down on the cool, silk sheets. He lay down beside you, on top of the covers, while you were under them. He turned on his side, propping his head up with his hand, and just looked at you. His free hand came up and traced the line of your jaw, then down your arm. It was a slow, possessive caress. Taehyung, you broke me when you left. I became the monster you were probably scared of. Now you are back. You will put me back together. He whispered into the darkness. He leaned in and pressed a soft, lingering kiss to your forehead. It was so tender it made your chest ache. Taehyung, and if you try to run again, I will break you too. And then we will be two broken pieces together. Forever. He murmured, his lips still against your skin. He pulled you close, your back against his chest, his arm a heavy band around your waist. Held in the arms of your ex-boyfriend, your new owner, you realized there was no escape. And a terrible, small part of you, the part that still loved him, didn't want to. The morning came with a slow, painful awareness. You were warm, tucked securely against a solid, breathing wall of heat. For a blissful second, you forgot. Then his scent, that familiar, expensive cologne mixed with just him, filled your senses, and memory crashed down. Taehyung's arm was still wrapped around your waist, his hand splayed possessively on your stomach. He was asleep, his breathing deep and even against the back of your neck. You tried to shift away, just an inch. The arm tightened instantly, pulling you flush against him. He wasn't even fully awake. It was pure instinct. Taehyung, where do you think you're going? His voice was a sleep-rough murmur against your skin. It sent a shiver down your spine. When? The bathroom. You whispered, the excuse sounding weak even to you. He hummed, a low, vibrating sound. He didn't let go. Instead, he nuzzled the space behind your ear. Taehyung, later. You lay there, trapped in his hold, your mind racing. This was the confusing push and pull of him. The tender intimacy mixed with the unyielding possession. After a long while, he finally moved. He rolled you onto your back, looming over you. His hair was messy, his eyes still heavy with sleep, but the intensity in them was wide awake. He caged you with his arms, his face inches from yours. Taehyung, good morning, he said, his gaze dropping to your lips. When is it? You couldn't help but retort. A slow, dark smile spread across his face. It was the most beautiful, terrifying thing you'd ever seen. Taehyung, it is for me. He leaned down, and for a heart-stopping moment, you thought he would kiss you. Instead, he pressed his lips to the frantic pulse at the base of your throat. Taehyung, I woke up and you were still here. That's a very good morning. He got out of bed with a fluid, graceful movement. He was still fully dressed in his clothes from last night, just rumpled. You pulled the sheets up to your chin, feeling exposed. Taehyung, get up, we have breakfast. Then we talk, he said, his tone shifting from intimate to commanding. Breakfast was a silent, tense affair in a sunlit dining room that was far too cheerful for the situation. A server placed plates of food in front of you, not meeting your eyes. Taehyung sat at the head of the table, watching you over his coffee cup. He didn't touch his food. Taehyung, eat. He ordered softly. You picked up a piece of fruit, your appetite gone. Taehyung, you said you were scared. He began, his voice casual, but his eyes were sharp. Taehyung, tell me. What were you so scared of that you had to run in the middle of the night? You put the fruit down. When I saw something I wasn't supposed to see. He raised an eyebrow, waiting. You took a shaky breath. When, that night, I came to your office to surprise you. The door was open a little. I saw you with a man. He was on his knees, begging. And you just looked so cold. Then one of your men, Taehyung, he put a bullet in the man's head. Yes, he was a traitor. He sold information that got 3 of my men killed. One of them was young. About your brother's age. The mention of your brother made you flinch. Taehyung, you saw the monster, when? But you never stayed to see the reason. You never asked why the monster comes out. You just ran, he said, putting his cup down with a quiet click. When? What was I supposed to do, Taehyung? Stay and have a chat? Oh, sorry to interrupt your murder, honey, I just brought you some dinner. You snapped, anger finally breaking through the fear. A slow, genuine smile touched his lips. It was brief, but it was real. Taehyung, yes. That would have been better. Because then I could have explained. Instead, you vanished. You took my trust and you smashed it. He stood up and walked over to you. He pulled your chair back, forcing you to look up at him. Taehyung, the world I live in is not clean, when? It is dark. It is bloody. But I never, ever wanted that darkness to touch you. You were my light. He knelt down in front of your chair, his hands gripping the armrests, trapping you. Taehyung, but you ran from me. So now, I have to do things differently. If you are scared of the dark, I will make you live in it until your eyes adjust. You will see every part of me, the good and the bad. And you will learn to accept it all. He reached out and traced your lower lip with his thumb. His eyes were burning with a frightening mix of love and obsession. Taehyung, because you are mine. You were always mine. This is just making it official. The intensity in his eyes was too much. You had to look away, your gaze falling to the expensive rug beneath his knees. A king, kneeling before his purchased property. The thought was as dizzying as it was terrifying. He saw you look away. His hand moved from your lip to under your chin, tilting your face back up. Taehyung, look at me when I'm talking to you, Hwan. You don't get to hide anymore. You met his dark gaze. Hwan, and what if I never adjust? What if I'm always scared? He smiled then, a small, heartbreakingly beautiful smile that didn't reach his eyes. Taehyung, then we will be a scared little bird and the man who holds her in his hands. Forever. I can live with that. He stood up, pulling you to your feet with him. Taehyung, now come. I have to work. You will stay with me. He led you not to an office, but to a room that looked like something from a spy movie. Screens covered one wall, showing different camera feeds from around the property. A large, empty desk stood in the middle. It was his command center. He sat in the leather chair and pulled you onto his lap as if it were the most natural thing in the world. You stiffened, your hands braced on his shoulders. Taehyung, relax, this is my world. You wanted to run from it. Now you will see it from the center. He murmured, one arm a firm band around your waist, holding you in place. With his other hand, he picked up a tablet. He tapped the screen, and a video call connected. A man with a scar down his cheek appeared. Boss. Taehyung, report. Taehyung said, his voice cold and businesslike. His hand, however, was warm where it rested on your thigh, his thumb drawing slow, absent-minded circles on your skin. The contrast was jarring. The shipment from Busan is secure. There was a small problem with the customs officer. He became greedy. Taehyung's expression didn't change. Taehyung and we encouraged him to reconsider his career choices. He won't be a problem again. Taehyung, good. Make sure his family receives the usual compensation for his early retirement. Taehyung's thumb stilled on your leg. You felt a chill that had nothing to do with the room's temperature. He was talking about seriously injuring a man, maybe worse, all while holding you like a lover. The man on the screen nodded. Understood, boss. His eyes flickered to you, sitting on Taehyung's lap, before quickly looking away. He knew who you were. They all knew. After a few more calls, all dealing with things that made your stomach twist, Taehyung put the tablet down. The room was silent again, save for the quiet hum of the computers. He turned you on his lap so you were facing him, your legs straddling his hips. The position was deeply intimate. He looked up at you, his hands resting on your waist. Taehyung, see? This is what I do. I solve problems. I protect what is mine. And now, that includes you. He said softly. You whispered. Hwan, I don't want to be protected like this. Taehyung, it doesn't matter what you want. It only matters what I'm willing to do to keep you. He replied, his voice gentle but absolute. He leaned forward and pressed a soft kiss to the hollow of your throat. He held you there for a long time, his face buried in your neck, breathing you in. The feared Mafia boss, seeking comfort in the one person who had ever seen the lonely boy behind the title. You didn't know whether to push him away or pull him closer. So you did nothing. You just sat there, trapped in his lap and in his twisted, dark love, wondering if this was your punishment or your salvation. Days blurred into a strange, tense routine. You were his shadow. You ate with him, you sat silently in his office while he conducted his brutal business, and you slept in his bed, held tightly in his arms every night. He was never cruel, but he was unyielding. A gilded cage, but a cage nonetheless. The breaking point came on one night. You were in his room, watching him from the bed as he stood by the window, a silhouette against the moonlit glass. The silence felt heavy, like it was pressing down on you. Hwan, I can't live like this, Taehyung. You said, your voice small in the large room. He didn't turn. Taehyung, like what? Hwan, like a doll. Like a pet. You keep me close, but you're a million miles away. The man I loved is gone. That made him turn. His face was in shadow, but you could feel his gaze. Taehyung, the man you loved was weak enough to let you go. You prefer this version? The one who would burn the world down to keep you? Hwan, I don't know this version. I know the man who loved stupid action movies and fed stray cats. Not the man who talks about breaking people's fingers like he's ordering lunch. You cried out, standing up from the bed. He moved then, fast and silent. In 2 strides he was in front of you, his hands gripping your shoulders. He growled, his voice low and fierce. Taehyung, that man is still here. He is right here, screaming inside a prison of his own making. A prison I built to protect us. To protect you. When? Protect me from what? Taehyung, from them. From every greedy, jealous bastard who would use you to get to me. The only way to keep you safe was to be the most powerful, the most feared. And the only way to do that was to become this monster you're so scared of. He shouted, finally losing his icy control. Tears streamed down your face. When? And what about me, Taehyung? What about what I need? I need the man who held my hand when I was scared. Not the man who is the reason I'm scared. The anger seemed to drain out of him all at once. His grip on your shoulders softened, his hands sliding down your arms. He looked exhausted, the mask of the ruthless boss completely gone. In its place was just a man. A tired, heartbroken man. Taehyung, you think I don't know that? You think I don't lie awake every night feeling you tense in my arms? I have all the power in the world, but I can't make you look at me the way you used to. He whispered, his voice raw. He cupped your face, his thumbs wiping away your tears. His own eyes were shining. Taehyung, I became this for you, and now it's the very thing that's keeping you from me. Do you have any idea how that feels? He breathed, his forehead touching yours. It was the most honest thing he had said since you came back. You saw it then, the boy you fell in love with, trapped behind the darkness. He was just as much a prisoner as you were. You didn't know what to say. So you did the only thing that felt right. You reached up and said him. It wasn't a gentle KSS. It was desperate, full of 2 years of pain, anger, and a love that had never truly died. He froze for a second, stunned. Then a low sound ripped from his throat, and he said you back, his arms wrapping around you like iron bands, pulling you so close there was no space left between you. It was a collision. A battle and a surrender all at once. When you finally broke apart, you were both breathless. He looked at you, his eyes wide, his lips swollen. The control was gone, replaced by a vulnerable hope that made your heart ache. Taehyung, does this mean? He started, his voice rough. You interrupted, your own voice shaky. You brought your hand to his cheek, feeling the stubble under your palm. Wyan, I don't know what it means. But the monster and the man. I see they're the same person. And I'm not running anymore. A single tear escaped from the corner of his eye. He didn't wipe it away. He just looked at you, and for the first time since you'd been back, you saw the man you loved, truly saw him, staring back. Weeks turned into a month. The mansion didn't feel like a fortress anymore. It started to feel like a home. Their home. The change was slow, like ice melting in the spring sun. It happened in the small things. You were in the kitchen one afternoon, trying to make his favorite seaweed soup, a recipe you'd looked up online. You were making a mess, and the broth was too salty. He leaned against the doorway, watching you with a soft smile you hadn't seen in years. Wyan, it's terrible, isn't it? You sighed, gesturing at the pot. He walked over, dipped a spoon in, and tasted it. He grimaced playfully. Taehyung, it's the worst thing I've ever tasted. You swatted his arm, but he just laughed, a real, full-bodied laugh that filled the whole room. He pulled you into a hug, resting his chin on your head. Taehyung, I love it. I'll eat every single drop. And he did. That night, in his office, things were different. He was on a video call, his face stern. Taehyung, the deal is off. Find another way. A cleaner way. He listened for a moment, then his voice turned to steel. Taehyung, I don't care if it's less profitable. We're not animals. He ended the call and looked at you. You were sitting on the sofa, reading a book. You just gave him a small, proud smile. He didn't say anything, but the look in his eyes said everything. Later, you were both in the living room. A stupid comedy was playing on the TV, the one he used to quote all the time. You were curled up against his side, his arm around you, his fingers lazily tracing patterns on your shoulder. He paused the movie. Taehyung, Wan. Wan, Taehyung, I'm sorry. For buying you. For the threats. For all of it. It was the only way my broken brain could think to get you back. He said, his voice quiet. You shifted to look at him. The dark obsession in his eyes was gone, replaced by a gentle, steady love. Wan, I'm not sorry I'm here. But I'm sorry I ran. I should have stayed and fought for you. For us. You whispered. He leaned in and K said you slow and sweet. It was a K, SS of forgiveness, of promises, of a future. When he pulled away, he rested his forehead against yours. Taehyung, I don't want to be your owner. I just want to be your Taehyung. The one who loves stupid movies and feeds the cats with you. He murmured. You smiled, your heart feeling full and light for the first time in so long. Wan, you are. You always were. He pulled a small, black velvet box from his pocket. Your breath hitched. He didn't open it. He just placed it in your hand. Taehyung, this was never part of the deal. I've had it since a week before you left. I was just too scared to give it to you then. He said softly. You opened the box. Inside was a simple, beautiful diamond ring. It wasn't a chain. It was a promise. Taehyung, I don't want you because I bought you. I want you to choose me. Choose this life. Choose us. Will you marry me, Wan? For real this time. He said, his voice thick with emotion. Tears of joy welled in your eyes. You looked from the ring to his hopeful, nervous face, the face of the boy you fell in love with, now a man who had walked through hell and back to find you. You didn't need to think. Yes, you whispered, throwing your arms around his neck. Wan, yes, 1,000 times yes. He held you tightly, burying his face in your hair. He was home. You were both home. The darkness was still there, outside the walls, but inside, there was only light. And it was more than enough. The end.